Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dini Miranti. Today I would like to explain about noun clause and an adjective clause. Let me start. Before we start, better for me to explain what is clause. A clause is a group of words containing a subject and predicate and function as a member of a complex or compound sentence. There are two types in a clause, dependent and independent clause. Dependent clause, it cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. It is also called a subordinate clause. These help the independent clauses complete the sentence. The subordinators do the work of connecting the independent clause to another clause to complete the sentence. In each of the dependent clause, the first word is subordinator. Subordinator include relative pronoun, subordinate conjunction, and nouns clause maker. Dependent clauses are divided into three types, and they are noun clause, adjective clause, and adverbial clause. But today, we will focus on noun clause and adjective clause. Let's start. A noun clause is a type of dependent clause classed as the same part of speech as a noun. When a simple noun is not enough to represent a person, place, thing, or idea, we use a noun clause. I think we should remember that noun clauses begin with a relative pronoun who, whom, whose, which, what, that, however, whoever, whichever, and whatever. Noun clause begin with a subordinating conjunction how, when, why, where, whether, and if. There are six types of noun clause. First, noun clause as a subject. For example, what I had done was fail the test. What I had done is a subject of the noun clause. The second is direct object. The example is students should pick whichever question they want, whichever question they want as an object. Then, indirect object, I will give whoever want it this small gift. Whoever want it is indirect object. Next, noun clause as object preposition. The example is the teacher is not happy about whatever you did. Number five, subject complement. The example, my reason for being late that I missed the bus. The last is a positive noun clause. It is worrisome that no one has studied for this exam. Note that in the final appositive example, the clause that no one has studied for the exam is the same in meaning to the it pronoun that comes at the start of the sentence. This could therefore be rearranged as a subject noun clause. That no one has studied for an exam is worrisome. Now we come to another clause, is adjective clause. An adjective clause, also called relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or pronoun. It tells which one or what kind. Adjective clause almost always come right after noun they modify. For example, Daniel, who was late again today, sits next to me in English. Using dependent clauses is a way of combining sentences. Daniel was late again today, and Daniel sits next to me in English Same with Daniel, who was late again today, sits next to me in English. An adjective clause generally begins with a relative pronoun, such as that, which, who, whom, whose, that connects the clause to the noun or pronoun it modifies. The relative pronoun shows the relationship between the clause and the antecedents. For example, there is the mountain that we are going to climb. That connects the class we are going to climb with the attendance. Another example, my blue tennis shoes, which used to be my mom's, were under the bed. Antecedents shoes, which is a pronoun replacing shoes, in the dependent clause, shoes used to be my mom's, and relating it to the subject of the independent clause. Next, Daniel, who was late again today, sits next to me in English. Accidents, Daniel, who sang with Daniel, so the dependent clause means Daniel was late again today. Who is replacing Daniel in the second clause and relating it to the subject of the independent clause. The relative pronoun has a grammatical function in the sentence. There is the mountain that we are going to climb. That is the direct object of infinitive to climb. Another example, my blue tennis shoes, which used to be my mom's, were under the bed, which is the subject of the verb used. Next, Daniel, who was late again today, sit next to me in English. Who is the subject of the depend clause. Need to remember, when using between who and whom, consider how the pronoun is used in the dependent clause, not the independent clause. Sometimes the relative pronoun is understood and not written in a sentence. For example, have you seen the book I lost? Same with, have you seen the book that I lost? You just need to omit that because the relative pronoun is understood. Another example, the teacher I had in fifth grade really inspired me. Same with, the teacher whom I had in fifth grade really inspired me. You need to omit whom because the relative pronoun is understood. If the relative pronoun is the object of a preposition and is left out, the preposition has no choice but to dangle. In informal spoken English, this is fine. It is also fine in spoken English to end the clause with the preposition. However, in formal English, it is better to put the preposition before the pronoun. For note that the preposition is part of dependent clause. And here are the examples. The movie was the sequel we had been waiting for is informal. The movie was the sequel which we had been waiting for. It's also informal example. And this movie was the sequel for which we had been waiting is formal example. Relative clauses can also start with the relative adverb where, when, and why. They connect the dependent clause to a noun in a sentence. The relative adverb modifies the verb in the dependent clause. For example, that is the bench where you and I were supposed to meet. 6 o'clock was the time when we were supposed to be. Then, that is the reason why I couldn't meet you. I think that's all for our lesson today. I hope you more understand about noun clause and adjective clause. See you at another meeting, and thank you very much for your attention. Bye bye.